All right, welcome to podcast episode 6. We're talking about the hot topic, AI. Everyone's talking AI, and I've got Mr. John Trainor here. John, welcome. I'm so thrilled to have you here. Of all the people in the world to have on this call, I thought of you because you've done everything small business, big business, and everything in between. So I just want to have you give a quick introduction to our crew here that watches this podcast episode series. So go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And it's great to catch up with you again. It was a while ago that we worked together, and I miss work with you. So it's good to be able to hop on a call and talk. So I'm John Trainor. I'm the president of 4 Technologies. We're a rapidly growing fintech company based out of Miami, Florida. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I just helping grow this company. We've had 9 consecutive quarters of triple-digit growth. We've been growing rapidly. We're a very small team. We did about 74 million in revenue last year with a team size of around 20 or so people. So we're really trying to maximize the revenue and obviously EBITDA per employee. We're trying to scale rapidly and not hire a lot of people along the way. And we're doing that a lot with just being really disciplined about how we execute. I think that's important. We're doing some of it with AI, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. My background has been, before I became president of a company, I was a very much a technical leader, although one that always gravitated towards the business side of technology. So before this, immediately I worked at a company called Wahoo Fitness. Wahoo Fitness is a leading brand for connected fitness products. If you watch people riding the Tour de France, odds are on their handlebars, they've got a Wahoo bike computer, and certainly they trained with a Wahoo indoor training device to ride indoors. So I did that for 5 years and loved that. I was chief technology officer and got to see some great growth and then not growth, and then growth again. So it was exciting. And then before that, for 20 years, I was at a company called Aaron's where we crossed paths, and I was the chief information officer for 10 years there, won some awards and sat on some boards, like the Technology Association of Georgia, which I bring up because it's really relevant to what we're talking about now, because I got to work with a lot of small and medium-sized businesses that were growing rapidly and see the insights. So while I was at a big enterprise and had big enterprise problems, it allowed me to tap into what was happening on the ground for companies that were about to be big enterprises in a few years, in some cases. So good, healthy background in technology, but have pivoted more now to general business leadership.
Which is super fun. One of the things I've always admired about you is your ability to start things up. Even in the big enterprise where we met, I remember the e-commerce site that you started up there and the work that you did around that. That's actually what drew me to this conversation first was, anyone that you can get lost in corporate pretty quickly, get lost in processes and all of that stuff. But anyone that knows you can get started up pretty quickly on something and show the results. Results is big, right? Revenue, profit, all of that stuff. So I want to kick this conversation on.
It's fun you bringing that one up because I loved that effort, because we built from $0 within a $2 billion business. We built something that in a couple of years was $150 million annual business. But you mentioned the results. So what we did with that team is we had a cross-functional team of technology folks, marketing, supply chain was key, customer support. And what we did is every month, all we cared about was results. And we would say to that team, hey, you're at this conversion rate. Do you think you could get to this next conversion rate? And then they're like, let's try. And we didn't care. It wasn't prescriptive. We didn't say, you will do this. And they fought and clawed, and sometimes they failed, but almost always, every month we came back and they did more than we had expected. And that was such a great lesson on how to build a business. Just go after results, and the way you get the results will just appear.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic that I am super passionate about. I actually learned a lot from and agile project methodologies and all of that stuff that you can go through. I tee that up a lot in conversations that I've got right now. So maybe we'll have another conversation, another point about how to be agile and like work towards value versus just, getting items checked off a list,
absolutely.
Well, let's kick it off. John, you're a talker. I know that, and you're passionate about this stuff.
You got to rein me in.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to kick it off. I'm a talker as well, but I'll ask a quick question, and then from there, man, you just tell do your thing. We've got a lot of entrepreneurs in here that watch. They don't have access to leaders that have developed this type of experience all the time. They're literally hitting the grind, getting their businesses up and going. And in today's world, the cost of everything has gone up so much. I mean, a startup cost, here I am in a startup business, and the startup cost is a lot. In our last episode, we just talked about, it can be upwards of $500,000 to $1 million for some businesses just to get off the ground, right? And so we're here to talk about AI in the startup world. In your experience, and AI is so recent and it changes all the time. In your experience, how are you using AI today to really, and you talked about EBITDA and you're a small team right now. How are you using it today to like maximize your profits and growth inside your business?
Yeah. So I've been working with some form of AI for 3.5 years now. However, I had an epiphany at the tail end of 2025. The world changed with a couple of advancements in models and tools, such that while I historically was using AI to help make technology go faster, we have pivoted the entire business roughly 90 days ago is when the big pivot happened to being an AI first business. And what I mean by that is every discipline within the business starts with AI and ends with AI. Now, that doesn't take the human out of the loop. It's not like we're running, if you've heard of OpenClaw, we're not just like automating everything in our business. What we're doing is we're taking our brains, our standard operating procedures, our documents, our rules, our ideas, all that, and we're making sure that we have it in files, pretty much just text files. Like there's no magic here. We just write everything down. Now, how do you write everything down? In the past, that's all you would do. You wouldn't actually run your business. You would just spend time writing stuff down. We use AI to extract from us the important things to get, if I'm writing an email, I start an AI with the email and then I say, okay, memorialize this email. I try not to do emails because they're a waste of time. I'd rather talk to people, but like, if I need to dump something out of my brain, I do that. I actually talk to my computer probably 80% of the day. So I use voice because I can go about 3x faster. And AI now is so good at doing that you can do it. And if you make mistakes, it knows how to correct them for you and all that. Yeah. So it's just gotten to that point. But we have, if we want to add a new feature to our financial technology product, we start with an idea that we say to AI, and then it gets memorialized. And then that idea turns into specifications that happen through AI, but with a human in the loop. Everything I'm talking about, there's always a human in the middle. Then those specifications, a developer picks them up. And I'm talking about a bigger business. We got 20 or 30 people, but it applies to a smaller business. In fact, even more, I think. And then we take that and the developer works on it. And then they use AI to automatically build that. And we've shortened the time it takes to do things from weeks to hours. It eventually gets to a tester. It eventually gets to, we're very lean, so we only have like 1 or 2 testers, right? So, and then it eventually goes all the way and gets promoted to production. But then that's not where it stops. We actually instrument all the analytics, and I ask questions of AI, and I say, how many installs did we get yesterday? Did it go up? Do we think we can attribute it to this feature? And then I know, like every morning I wake up and I have a president update that I run, and it looks through everything in my business. It looks through Slack and email, but more importantly, looks through our data, and it tells me how many installs we got. What was our revenue yesterday? What do I need to pay attention to? We saw a little spike in tickets, in support tickets this past weekend, and it had to do with a change that was made. And it said, you need to look into this. So I pinged my guy that's responsible for that. I was like, Bill, are you doing this? And then he shamed me by said, I already committed that to the repo. I could have gone and asked AI the answer. I asked Bill. Still, we have humans in the loop. But what we do by externalizing our brains, we now have a repository where everybody has all of the information of the business. And so when we want to launch something, everybody can ask the same questions. Why are we doing this? What are we doing? And it's speeding things up with the speed of machine. Like the machine speed is so much faster, but it also speeds up our ability to understand our business.
Yeah. That's interesting. So can you talk a little bit about, again, like not everyone's in this as deep as you, and they're not all technologists, right?
Yeah.
But like the word memorializing, thank you. That word, what do you mean by that? I know what you mean, but just for the group to understand, because when you're basically putting all your information somewhere so that you can extract it, but what do you mean
in
a day-to-day world?
It's going to be different for every business. And I would actually argue that a smaller business has a much bigger advantage here than a bigger business. And to that point, we will start seeing billion-dollar valuation companies that are one person and a series of AI agents that represent different parts of their business. For example, I use a CEO advisor skill. This challenges me in an adversarial way about my business, and it's like I've got a consulting company coming in and challenging me, and I run that every month or so, and I just say, hey, let's look at the business and give me feedback. So it's it is a new way of operating for sure that I think smaller businesses can leverage more. So what does it mean to memorialize? Well, many people on this that are viewing this, they have used ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude on the web or something, and they ask questions. Most of the time they're using AI as a better Google, like a richer, deeper Google that researches
like a search engine.
And most people are using it that way. And then some people are a little bit farther along where they've let ChatGPT know about them, and they've created a bunch of conversations, and then it can start stitching together those conversations to give you an even more meaningful answer. What we have done is we've externalized, when you're having a bunch of conversations with ChatGPT, they're keeping a memory of you so that they give you better and better and better answers. And the more you invest time into using AI, the better the answers you're getting. Like it understands your preferences and what your trips are going on, and therefore it's going to give you a better answer and all that. So that memory is what's really valuable about AI. In ChatGPT, that memory is stored on their servers, which is great because you don't have to worry about it. What we have done is we've externalized that memory, and we just save it as files, just text files. Okay. There's a guy named Andre Kaparthy. If you go look him up on Twitter, Andre Kaparthy has done a great job of describing, he did this about 3 weeks ago, what we are doing in our business, that we've been doing for a few months now. And I'm sure he said it much better than I ever could say. So go read his stuff. But more or less what it's saying is take your memories, put them into text files, ask AI to organize those text files so it's easy for AI to retrieve. And so now I run a skill in the morning. I have it automated, but that says KPIs space daily. Okay, and it knows default just to do daily, and I have a monthly one, etc., weekly, and then it generates all the reports in those text files for me, and I can go read them, and I can say, oh, we're ahead or behind in this area, or I'll project our revenue. I do this 4 or 5 times. Well, towards the end of the month, I do it every day because I get, I want to hit that revenue button, but I will project our revenue and see how well we're doing against the budget we have. And I just let AI do that for me, and then it saves it. Well, the benefit of that is then what I do is I have it instructed to not only run the projection, but look at the previous projections and learn why we didn't do as good of a job projecting our revenue. And then when we get all of our final actuals in at the end of the month of revenue, then I go, okay, now go back and just, what did we learn? And then make it better. And then eventually I've gotten to the point where it's within a percentage point or 2 by week 1 of the month. I know what my revenue is going to be. If I can predict the rest of my business, I'm not that far along on adjusted EBITDA, but I would love to be. It helps me know my lifetime value of the customer and know when I break even and know what my customer acquisition cost is relative to my lifetime value. All of that is done in AI, but then memorialized in a text file. There's a specific type of text file that is useful. You don't have to do this, but we do. It's called Markdown. You probably have seen it in your life. It's like, it can just be plain text. A Markdown is just plain text like you'd have in a text document. But then it also, you might see like pound signs. That means, oh, this is a heading. Or you might see, you can do tables like with pipe columns or whatever. And it gets hard to read for a human, but AI eats it up and humans can still read it. So it's not like a database that humans can't read. A human can read a Markdown and doesn't need AI. The benefit of memorializing everything outside is, I use Claude right now. That's what I see as being the state of the art in the industry.
Sure.
But Codex might come out with something better, or OpenAI with Codex, or Cursor has been really good.
Sure.
Or Google's, or somebody that we don't know about is going to come up with something. By externalizing all of my memories, I can switch from product to product to product and be nimble.
That's awesome. How did you get a team to actually start doing this? Because the benefit of it is not just you, obviously, it's that your whole company is using it, and not everyone thinks that brilliantly about stuff. So how do you actually take a team to start using it and train them on how to do this?
Yeah, that is probably the hardest part. It has been much easier with people we have hired since we've done this for a couple of reasons. As we're talking to them, first of all, that attracts them to our business, that we operate this way. That's one thing. So it's self-selecting. But as we're doing the interview process, we explain to them, day one, you will be committing knowledge to our repository. And and I work like hard to make sure it happens day one. And we make it a little bit difficult. The way we do it, we use a technology called Git in order to manage the repository. It gives us benefits when it comes to scale. Not everybody needs to do that. You can just throw it in like a Google Drive or a OneDrive and you're good. But for us, it works. And so it's not trivial to get people up running, but we want, for anybody that starts, we want them to know day one, this is how you do business here. And those have been some of the best adopters. People that are incredibly valuable, been with the company for a long time, some all in, some they're still figuring it out and we're still coaching. There may be people that say, this isn't for me, I want to exit. And that's okay, because we just had to make a decision as a business that we're going to operate this way, and I'm not going to force people to do something they don't want to do. And so it's I do office hours. So I pick teams and I go, hey, show me what you're working on with, we call it 4OS. Show me what you're working on with 4OS, and I'll give you hints and tips, and you can ask me questions, or I can learn something from you that I can adopt. And it's just a lot of human interaction to get there. That's
really interesting. I'm actually learning a little bit about it myself here. I've adopted AI into everything I'm doing in a startup. I think I would be about a year behind, even though I'm like only a year into this. I'd still be months behind if I wasn't using AI for everything. But I've never actually used it and extracted conversations or data and then used AI to actually get into that. So that's a fascinating topic as an early entrepreneur or people starting their businesses. The quicker you put this into practice, the quicker you can get to know your business and use it for conversations on how to grow.
And it can start with it started with us with one file, which is, I want to externalize the company's brain. Help me build that. And AI helped me build it. And one file is now thousands of files. And let me give you an example so we have Naomi as our head of product. She's a great designer, really gets our product really well. She has never written a line of code in her life, and I don't expect her to. However, she thought that we might not have we don't care a ton right now about our website. That'll change. We care about our app, and we drive all interest into our app. Over time, paywith4.com will become more important, especially with agentic AI commerce. So she wanted to do what's called search engine optimization. In the good old days, you know this because you've probably done it a million times, you would go get a firm that does SEO, search engine optimization, and they would look at your website. You'd pay them $10,000, $20,000. They'd come back to you in a month. They'd say, make these changes. You'd make them. They'd run it again. Maybe you pay them some more money. It's like crazy, right? That's what you would normally do it, and you wouldn't be
I
wrong
scrapped
doing
that, by the way. I had someone try to sell me on that, and I was like, I can just do this myself.
Well, and you certainly could get benefits with it. So what Naomi did is, knowing we want to have better SEO on our website these days, she got a publicly available SEO audit agent. She went and researched the best ones, ran that up against our site, immediately found impactful changes. We scored a 20, I think, out of 100, which is not good. Shows the neglect we had. She then said, okay, well, how would I make this change? And I told her. And then Claude goes, do you want me to make this change for you? She's like, okay. So it went all the way through to our CTO accepting it as code. She didn't write a line of code. Claude did. Accepted it, reviewed it, accepted it. It got tested. It got promoted. So within the time of her running the SEO audit and having a fix in place, it was roughly 12 hours in production with really almost nobody involved other than normal human in the loop checks. And we have gone from a 20 to now a 57 through 3 different changes, all identified by a free tool, all built by somebody who doesn't write code, all run through our normal process and promoted with hours of time, not weeks.
That's insane.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
That's awesome. And of course, since you did it all through AI, it's all now tracked. I mean, people that launch stuff all day long, they're sitting there writing down all their processes, all their SOPs, all this stuff. Yep. And it's all just taken care of, and you can literally build off of it now.
And we can say, run that play again, run that play again. Right? That's what she's done. She's run it now 3 times, run the play 3 times. And that 57 is going to turn into a 95 with very little effort and no consulting dollars. And that's
great. Awesome. Well, I'm a consultant, so you got to at least.
I mean, consulting dollars are great. They're great. I love them.
That's great. But in all honesty, if you look at like a brand new entrepreneur and small businesses that are going today, and a lot of them have staff that they've run, because it's not as easy to come by staff necessarily when you're a small business and you're starting up and everything. And so some of these people just aren't educated in this world. If you had to recommend, let's say they've got QuickBooks and they've got Stripe for taking payments, and they've got Google Docs for different things, and you name all the different softwares that these companies are using for all this stuff. What would be like the number one go-to? You got to get this AI tool that can start pulling information from all these places for you. What would be like that one thing that you would recommend for them?
Yeah, I'm going to say something, and then we'll get off this call, and I'll look on Twitter and I'll regret what I say, because things are evolving so rapidly. That it's really hard to say that and it be true for days. That being said, knowing what I know right now, and I bet this will continue to be true for a bit, is I think getting Claude Cowork is probably one of the best things anybody could do right now. There are other products that are similar, but they really have it dialed in right now. The company Anthropic that makes Claude, they're really doing some good stuff. And Claude Cowork is a great product. And why? Because it lets you have that external memory, and it lets you work on external files. So let's say you're used to having Google Docs, or actually, let's say you're used to having Excel files to manage your business. Claude Cowork can open those up and do work for you directly into those files. And it can also connect to Google Docs, and it can connect, I don't know if it can connect to QuickBooks, but I know it can connect to CSVs that come out of there. So it is a really good tool, because here's what, I don't think it's a tool answer of how you get up and running with AI. I think it's a mindset shift. I wrote a LinkedIn post a few months ago because I had a realization that the only thing that separates me from doing amazing things with AI is me rewiring my brain to realize that I can do amazing things with AI. I am my worst enemy when it comes to using AI, because I get bound by what used to be true on how hard things were. And like, okay, that LTV, the lifetime value of a customer calculation, that has been the white whale at every business I've been at. Everybody's talked about it. It was going to take years to figure out. It's impossible to do. And in my brain, I knew that because it's been beaten into me that it's impossible. But I really wanted it because it's so important to what we do. So I just said, okay, you know what? I'm not going to implement it. I'm just going to create a plan for it. So I go to Claude and I say, hey, help me build a plan for this. And it asks me a bunch of questions because it goes into planning mode where it asks you questions. It's like a consultant, they're great consultants. And it asks me all these questions. And then it built a plan for me. And it goes, here's the plan of how you get your lifetime value for your customer. And it said, do you want me to do this now? I'm like, what? No, this is like a 1.5-year long project. And I was like, okay, it's just like electricity that I'm burning, maybe some water, which is problematic. But, and so I was like, yeah, build it for me. That was like in the afternoon one day. I knew the next day I had an LTV value for my entire business. It goes all the way down to the individual customer that tells me what my break-even point is, where people start plateauing, what the funnel looks like. And 24 hours before, if you had asked me, in my brain, I was locked in and wired that was an impossible task. Yeah. And that's the difference people have to have.
Yeah, that's a really interesting. I talk about this all the time. There was a point in my life, actually right after Aaron's, I came out, bought a business. I'm up in Ohio now doing my thing, and went through all this change in my life, and I had to get some like personal consulting. And I just remember like getting to this point of frustration. For some reason, my mental capacity could not get past a certain point. Like I was just blocked. I couldn't figure it out. And my dad, of all people, said to me, Dave, the point where you start learning is when you can say the words, I don't know. Everything prior to the words, I don't know, you've learned, you've done something with it. But once you can say the words, I don't know, now you can start learning. And I say that for the purpose of like, I mean, I've trained myself, or I'm trying to train myself to be okay with the words, I don't know, like, I don't know the answer, because it's that point where, and using AI to help with some of that is massive, because we don't have to necessarily spend years trying to figure out these impossible things that we've been trying to figure out, when a tool can really like help us. And, you know, you and I have talked about this in the past, but like, I'm a firm believer that tools are not the answer to everything, right? Like we're humans. They are just that. They are tools. Technology is a tool that we can leverage, but why would you continue using a hand screwdriver when you can use a screw gun? You know?
Right.
If you've got the tool to like speed things up and get better at what you do, why wouldn't you use that? And I think there's a lot to be learned in the AI world around the words, I don't know, because AI only has the answer of what it knows, right? But I love this whole concept of the more we extract our information, the more we can like put it in places, the more we actually like can get our data out there, or even our conversations or what's going on, the more tool to help speed things up and give us knowledge of our business so that we can grow even more. And we live in a world, I know I'm like going on a tangent here, but we live in a world legitimately where businesses will go out of business if they don't get up to speed soon, because we've got another generation coming up that only speaks this language. This is the language they speak, just like the internet. And I don't want to get to a certain age and be like, well, when I was a kid, I had to walk to school every day both ways in the snow, you know, uphill both ways or whatever. We live in this world where we've got to start practicing using this technology, because it is going to change the way we do business.
And I will say that while it will change, there's also a competitive advantage for people who have been doing it the hard way. I want to stress a lot that AI is exactly what you're describing. It's a tool, and a tool is only as good as the person who's wielding that tool. And there have been times where I've said to AI, like on that revenue projection thing, project it for me. And I look at the results and I'm like, and I tell it this, I speak it to it through the mic. I go, my gut feel is there is something wrong with this. Ask me questions to figure out what I think is wrong. And keep asking me questions until we've identified what you need to look at. And then it will go, oh, okay, well, if you've got a gut feel on this, let's go through that. And then it'll start asking, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?
Yeah.
And that's the only way AI is effective, is when you're able to pair the human. As a tool, it is at the end of the day just a guessing game. It's a bunch of numbers that it's guessing and trying to string together something brilliant without, right, until there's general intelligence that's automated, artificial general intelligence. Until that's true, if that's even possible, it still requires a human to gut check it and know what's right. And I think that's a competitive advantage that modern business owners have, that while there is this tool out there, you need that human element. And that is the superpower when you get both of them working well together.
Yeah. You've got to be comfortable with asking the right questions, though. You've got to be comfortable saying, leveraging the tool to actually get there as well.
Yeah.
Because it can be intimidating.
You need time in the seat. We had a new guy that came in who's like brilliant, knows what he's doing. He asked a question, got an answer. I knew the answer was wrong. He didn't know because he was brand new. And I said, you need to be suspicious of all the answers you're getting, because this is wrong.
Yeah.
And I said, let me ask that same question. And it gave me a wrong answer because it didn't have the information, but it made it up. And I asked it, did you make this up? And it said, yeah, I made this up. And then you have to go, well, how did I let that happen? That is a failure in my memory document. My memory document, when I fire up, I have it load memory. And one of those things is like, if you don't know the answer, don't make this up. And this person who was new, he doesn't have that concept baked into it, but it will make it up. It'll try to, and you have to tell it you're not allowed to do that.
That's so crazy. Well, we'll wrap this up. We typically don't go longer than 30 to 45 minutes, but one of the things that I obviously notice in my daily grind, and I call it a grind because I think every day is a new day. I'm doing everything from, I write my own contracts, by the way, in AI. So all of my contracts I do in AI because it's way cheaper and I can get so much more information out of it. But I do all of my contracting there. I do all of my data and analytics. It's learned my business to the point where like I'll ask it questions about how do I make my sales content more valuable? Like how do I make it more appealing? And things like that. But to the everyday entrepreneur who may or may not be using this, what would be your one piece of advice for them to just start day one?
Yeah. The only way that you'll understand how AI works is by using AI. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to Dave.
Yeah.
Use it. It is time in the seat, just like any other part of your business. The only way you know how to run your business is because you know how it works. And AI is no different. And you just have to balance what the running of your business with the learning of a new skill, knowing that that skill can tell you how to learn it. Like you can ask it, how do I get better at this? And it's less about what tools you pick. It's less about specifically what you do. And it's time in the seat. I've got a friend who owns 2 local running stores. So pure small businesses. He'd be a great person, Dave, to have on, because he knows how to fit somebody in a running shoe that's going to protect them from getting injuries. He's been doing it for years. He's a brilliant guy. He also happens to be my favorite expert in AI. He knows more than I do, and he keeps me abreast of everything. And yet he's a guy that sells running shoes, right? Why? Because Steve, in his back room where he stores his shoes, he's created a little cubby on the shelves that is his desk, and he is on a shelf with his laptop, and he dedicates the time he's able to AI. And now he has it doing automatic order. He doesn't fully automate it. He reviews it because he's got human insight. But he does so much to analyze his business. Why? Because he put time into it. That's what it takes. And he didn't divert running his business. He still runs a very successful running store, 2 of them, but he does both. And that's what I think people need to figure out.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, John. This is like a ton of information. I'm learning a lot as I'm just sitting here talking with you, and I'm sitting here like literally as we're wrapping up, I'm thinking about what changes I need to make inside my own culture. I only have a team of 3 right now. Inside my own culture, how do I do that? Inside this ecosystem that we're starting to build out, like how do we leverage AI to like start gathering information and using it to grow it and become more valuable, all of that stuff. So I really appreciate this conversation so much higher than my expectations. I think a lot of people will get a lot of value. I'll actually have my team listen to this podcast as well.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of information here. We'll use AI to also extract information from this call. You know,
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Next time, I'm just gonna have an avatar read back what we talked about today, and then have it go to Twitter to find out what I got wrong. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then you can use AI to be like, well, did Dave actually use this call for anything?
That's right. Exactly. Yeah.
Is that a waste of my time?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, man.
That's awesome. Well, John, I know your schedule is big or busy. I know you're in Miami right now and you travel all the way around Atlanta and Miami and other places, but I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. We'll be chatting soon.
Great to catch up. Talk to you later.
Thanks.